Good day, viewers, and welcome to A Taste of Milton with Dominic Pasqualino, a show produced by Giuliano De Luca and Milton Today Television. I'd like to show you today a variety of recipes with fish and seafood, and hope you enjoy the program. And it's with great pleasure that I share with you some of the delicious recipes that I produce at Pasqualino Cafe and Bistro, and I hope you could reproduce them at home for special dinners with your family or with your guests. In this session with fish and seafood, I'm going to be showing you a variety of recipes. The first one will be a Chilean sea bass baked in parchment paper with fresh seasonal vegetables in a sambuca pink peppercorn sauce. So I hope you enjoy the recipes, and we're going to get started on the first recipe, the baked Chilean sea bass with seasonal vegetables in a pink peppercorn sambuca sauce baked in parchment paper. For the baked sea bass, we will need sea bass, of course. This is nice and fresh, and the portions are about 5 ounces each. We're going to accompany it also with a little bit of tiger shrimp, 1 shrimp per person. And then the vegetables that we're going to use are shallots and sliced onions for a base of the sauce, some leeks, a little bit of julienne carrots, some julienne red peppers, a little bit of asparagus cut on a bias, some julienne tomatoes, and a variety of herbs, which will include some chopped Italian parsley and a little bit of basil leaves, some chives, pink peppercorns, and we'll also need a little bit of vegetable stock. So I'd like to go ahead and proceed with the recipe. You'll need a non-stick fry pan. We're going to heat it up a little bit, and once it gets a little bit hot, we're going to sear the sea bass. And I'll have to make a little bit of room here while the pan is heating. We're going to arrange sheets of parchment paper on the table. The sea bass is going to be seared, then it's going to be placed on top of each piece of parchment paper. And then we're going to add the vegetables after they've been sauteed. We're going to make a little sauce, and then we'll fold everything in the parchment paper and bake it in the oven for about 15 minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and proceed to sear the sea bass. I'll turn on non-stick fry pan. We want to get that a little bit hot. And I'm going to season the sea bass with a little bit of salt and white pepper. And next I need to just dredge the sea bass in a little bit of flour. And the reason for that is just to seal in all the juices of the sea bass so they don't escape during cooking, allowing the fish to stay nice and moist during the cooking process. Now, I like to pat a lot of the flour out. You don't want to have too much flour, otherwise it'll burn in the fry pan. Now we're ready to sear the sea bass. We need a little bit of olive oil. And we're just going to put a small amount in the fry pan. See, this fry pan is nice and hot because you want to be able to sear the fish and lock in all the juices. We'll put that on the stove again, and we'll just let it make a little bit of a crust. We're not going to cook it through because most of the cooking will be done in the parchment paper. Most of the cooking will be steamed. And while the fish is searing, we're going to get another frying pan hot for sauteing of the vegetables. And we need another little pot for water to blanch the asparagus. Now you can see it's starting to make a little bit of a crust. We're going to leave it for about 3 or 4 minutes. So now that the sea bass is seared, you have a little bit of crust. We're going to arrange it on the parchment paper. A little bit of olive oil. We're going to add our sliced onions and our shallots. Get those cooking, get a little bit translucent. We're going to add the fresh leeks. And while those are cooking, we're going to arrange the shrimp over top of the sea bass. And these we're going to put raw right over top of the sea bass because they'll cook steaming in the parchment paper. We'll add our red peppers. And the julienne carrots. And the water is at a boil almost, and we'll add the asparagus. We'll just cook the asparagus for about 30 seconds. And then I'll add that to the vegetable mixture. You don't want to cook your vegetables through. You just want them to soften up a little bit and to be tender crisp because they'll finish cooking in the parchment paper. At this point, I'll add a little bit of salt and pepper. And we're going to deglaze the skillet with a little bit of sambuca. The sambuca will give a nice aroma to the vegetables and to the fish. And now that they're part cooked, we're going to add them to the parchment paper. This is very healthy. A nice medley of vegetables, the fresh fish, a little bit of shrimp. And it's very important because a lot of people are not eating healthy these days because of time. We're always so rushed in our world today, so it's always good to take some time and cook something really, really nice and enjoy it with your family and friends. We have a little bit of pan juices left, and we're going to build up a little sauce in the same pan. We're going to add a little bit of vegetable stock. Normally you would use fish stock, but it's so hard to make at home. The vegetable stock will work, and we're going to let it come to a boil. And we're going to add a little bit of white wine to the vegetable stock. Maybe just a little more. And the white wine, make sure you use a good dry white wine. Don't be cheap on white wine for cooking because it'll show in your end result. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And while the sauce is reducing, we're going to add a few julienne tomatoes over top of the shrimp. And we're also going to put a little bit of fresh parsley, and this will give a nice aroma to the dish. A little bit of fresh chives, just coarsely cut into 1.5 inch pieces. They'll look great, very delicious. They'll think you're a master chef when you serve this. And a lot of people are probably wondering if this could be prepared ahead of time. I would suggest not too far in advance. You can probably sear the fish ahead of time and have all your ingredients cut up, and this is something you can do at the very last moment. The pan juices are starting to bubble. We're going to add a little bit of pink peppercorns to the pan juices. Pink peppercorns will give a nice peppery sweetness to the dish. And I want to add just a little bit more sambuca. And that'll intensify the sweet flavor of the sauce. And just going to cook it down for another 10 seconds or so. But I want to add a little bit of butter, not a lot. This amount of butter is just to help thicken the sauce. And along with the butter, I'm going to put a little bit of flour, just a pinch to help thicken the pan juices. So this will be very, very small, the amount, over 4 dishes. And what I do, this is called in French a bourmani. What it is butter mixed in with a little bit of flour, kneaded with your hands. And that is to help thicken the sauce. I'm just going to let that butter melt. And you'll see a nice syrupy consistency in the sauce now, instead of it being too liquidy. It's formed into a nice little glaze. Nice syrupy-like consistency. And we're going to put 1 tablespoon of the sauce over the fish. And that's all you're going to need. Because you'll have all the juices from the vegetables, all the juices from the fish. And at this point, I like to put just a little touch more of salt and pepper. A little splash of olive oil. And just a little drip of sambuca. Now comes the fun part. You want to fold it exactly in half, and you want to make a little crease right at the halfway mark. And then give it a little diagonal fold. Crease it over, press it with your fingers so it's nice and tight. You want to be able to make it airtight so all the juices and all the air stays inside the packet. So a little fold, and then tighten it up. And then when you get to the end, just give it a little twist and tuck it underneath the parchment packet. Now we'll arrange this. You can put it on the baking sheet. I like to put it into individual fry pans and put them directly into the oven. And we'll come back about 15 minutes from now, and I'll show you what the dish looks like. Well, our sea bass is ready. It's been baking in the oven at 350 for about 15 minutes. And one of the easiest dish to present. No fussing, because all your work was done ahead of time. We're just going to arrange 4 dinner plates on the counter and then remove the sea bass from the oven. Make sure you have a nice dry towel. We don't want to get burnt. There you are. Sea bass in the parchment paper. The paper is puffed up because all the air was locked in. And we'll open them one up just to show you how it turned out and what it looks like. Nice touch to do for your guests is to open it up for them, just with a little knife and a fork. Just tear along the bottom. And fold the paper over. And you have this delicious package. You can see the vegetables are nicely cooked through. Nice amount of sauce at the bottom. The shrimp is perfectly cooked, and the sea bass is nicely cooked to medium rare. And what a beautiful aroma because of the sambuca, the white wine, and all the fresh herbs coming out. And there we are. We're all ready to eat now. I can't wait to try this. This looks absolutely amazing and delicious. I hope you've enjoyed the recipe, and I hope you try this recipe at home. And thank you for watching Milton Today Television. I'm Dominic Pasqualino, and I look forward to my next recipe. Thank you.